Welcome once again. And of course, to get into our final story for today, let's tell you that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has detained 10 officers from its Lagos Zonal Command over the alleged theft of missing operational items, I beg your pardon. The Commission spokesperson, Deji Ajari, confirmed this in a statement in Abuja. He stated that development was part of ongoing efforts by the EFCC Chairman Olukoyede to rid the Commission of corrupt practices. In an effort to uphold integrity and fight fraud, the EFCC also announced on Monday that 27 personnel had been fired. According to Ajari, these officials engaged in misbehavior and fraudulent activity in 2024. According to him, the EFCC chairman approved their termination in accordance with the Anti-Graft Staff Disciplinary Committee's recommendations. Olukoyede warned that no official would be exempt from disciplinary action and reiterated the EFCC's zero-tolerance policy for corruption. We're joined this morning by Deji Ajari, who will be speaking to us about this update. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
It would seem that the EFCC is cleaning up its own house. Let's get your initial thoughts about the update regarding the EFCC and the house cleaning that it's doing within itself. Can you hear us?
Sorry, I didn't get your comments.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the house cleaning or housekeeping that the EFCC is doing within itself.
Yes. I think the arrest and of the EFCC operatives by EFCC itself is a commendable step in the fight against corruption. It's a demonstration of the fact that the EFCC is willing to tackle, complaints of unethical practices that have been soaring in the past against officials of the EFCC. Now, you see, because corruption and unethical behavior like the ones alleged within law enforcement agencies undermines public trust and weakens the effectiveness of anti-corruption initiatives by government. Now, essentially, what EFCC has done here by saying charity begins at home is that it has reinforced its own credibility. It's a key anti-corruption institution in Nigeria.
So this story is about operational items within the EFCC. Does this, also, put, fuel in the fire? When people say that, the EFCC, officials maybe also, may not have their hands clean with, even funds that they receive from suspects. Is there, any possibilities that those also happen, that some of the monies that they claim to have been recovered, may also be taken by some of the officials?
Perhaps it could be that funds that were recovered, but it could also be that maybe funds that were set up for sting operations could also just be devices. One cannot say specifically because EFCC has, smartly refused to disclose all of them. But one of the things, at least, that I saw in the statement by the publicity person is that this current effort, is part of a broader initiative to root out corruption within the EFCC. Now, for me, such measures are essential to curb impunity. And without, putting structures in place to curb such impunities, the organization itself cannot be effective because it certainly will mean that there will be compromises of very important cases. And of course, you will agree with me that over the years, there have been so many very important cases that appeared from the beginning to be slam dunk sort of cases. And then, before you know what's happening, you just find funny scenarios playing up. And then you'll be wondering whether these people are actually serious or they're just taking us for a ride. I recall once when a sitting Senate president, although not by the EFCC, but by another anti-corruption institution within the country, attempted to prosecute a sitting Senate president by alleging that it owned certain companies with which it was acquiring properties without obtaining certified true copies of the incorporation documents from CAC, and by the time because the case had started and they went back to CAC, the files of the three companies were missing. You know, you ask yourself, really? Are we serious? Because obviously there has been compromise. You cannot, there is no other way to explain that. So for me, when we have anti-corruption and law enforcement agencies strengthening their internal mechanisms of curbing corruption, curbing unethical practices, it should receive the support of all Nigerians. And that's exactly the excitement that I have for this issue here.
Is it a fair call that a number of Nigerians are making, asking for the names of these officers? You know, part of the calls I've seen, asking for their names, asking that they need to see their photos, the same way that the EFCC would typically display the photos of other young Nigerians who have been arrested and sometimes are being investigated. So we've seen a number of people saying, give us their names, let's see their photos as well. Even though we've criticized a number of times the display of photos of young Nigerians before a court of competent jurisdiction has pronounced them guilty. But let's get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you see, what you have seen here is it's symptomatic of all law enforcement and anti-corruption agencies in the country. Yeah, because I mean, whatever is good for the goose should be good for the gander. If you arrest ordinary Nigerians for mere allegations and you go over the media and display their names, their faces, and even allegations of weighty corruption allegations, for instance, sometimes. And sometimes when these people are if these people are eventually discharged and acquitted after trial, you don't get to come out to, refute your earlier statements. You should be able to apply the same standard to your officials. It's the same thing we have with the police force sometimes. A lot of times, you get to find news of efforts, 33 police officers were dismissed. We want names mentioned, and sometimes, even more importantly, because they are law enforcement agencies, it is important that sometimes, apart from the fact that there is need to name and shame, there is also the need, for instance, to make the public aware that such persons have gone through this process and have either been found guilty within the internal mechanisms, and such punishment has been meted out. It reinforces the people's confidence. It is important. These things are not, they should not be things that the agencies should have the option of doing or not doing. So yes, while we commend the EFCC for taking this step, yes, it should go beyond what it currently has done by disclosing the names and photographs, and perhaps this could also even help the EFCC itself from preventing situations where its former officials will go and continue to impersonate officials and use that opportunity to deceive and dupe innocent Nigerians.
Does it also, help, with the credibility of the EFCC? Now, I mean, you've said it that this is, good because it basically gives the EFCC more, seemingly more credibility as it tries to clean its house. But there have been at least 4 previous EFCC chairmen that have been accused of corruption: Ibrahim Magu, Ibrahim Lamorde, Farida Waziri, I beg your pardon. I mean, I think 4 of them have been accused of corruption in the past. So, does this help in any way, really, in cleaning the EFCC's image?
Yes, like I have said, the efforts, the steps that they have taken certainly will go a long way in, first, of course, like I said, restoring confidence in these agencies, one, and it will also send a strong signal that by leading by example, it is already even telling other Nigerians and other anti-corruption, other law enforcement agencies that it is back and ready to do its job. So yes, certainly it will restore confidence, and but then again, like we have said, more needs to be done. It is not enough. It is good and it is commendable, but it is certainly not enough. Such measures must continue progressively. I agree. And at the end of the day, the EFCC may even need to create a register that is publicly available for persons to come check and see what measures they have taken internally to cleanse their system.
All right. Well, I mean, I've seen a number of reactions as well. People who don't believe the EFCC, they say that the EFCC is announcing the suspension of 27 imaginary, they refer to them as imaginary EFCC officers, which is why a number of Nigerians are calling for the names to say, give us evidence to show that they're actually, these are actual people and not just numbers that are thrown at our face to make us believe that you're actually cleansing the house. But hopefully we can come back to talk about this. I want to deviate a little to a conversation that we started the show with today. The Okoya kids were seen on camera. There was a video of them dancing. I don't know if you saw the TikTok video of them dancing with money. And then there was a police officer in that video. And I'm hoping, yes, that's the video there. And the police, the Nigerian police, Deji Ajari has reacted to this video because there was a police officer there. And if you see the tweet, he did say that the police officer has been identified and that the action is not in line with the Nigerian police. Do you expect that the EFCC would maybe invite them for questioning? Do you expect that the same treatment that was given to Cubana chief priest and to Bobrisky, who were also alleged to have abused the Naira, do you think that the EFCC is charged with the responsibility of bringing them in?
Well, of course, the EFCC, has, in the past, arraigned at least 2 persons in recent past that we can recall. So it certainly has the powers to arrest and arraign such persons and prosecute them. Whether they will do it is a totally different thing entirely. And you see, you must agree with me, in Nigeria, we have 2 sets of law, one for those who are privileged and one for those who are not. And it is the reason, for instance, just a couple of days ago, there was the video of a teacher, that was in circulation who was slapping a kid. That lady was arrested, and I totally supported the arrest of that lady. But then just yesterday, she was arraigned, and she was remanded in Kirikiri prisons till the 18th of February. That is over a month, for over a month. We have had more serious cases of assault. For instance, some years ago, Senator Elijah Abo was caught on camera seriously assaulting a lady, an adult, with the help of law enforcement agencies, of police officers. Of course, he was arraigned in court after the hue and outcry. But what happened? He was not even remanded for a day. He was granted bail immediately. Yeah. That tells you that
the taxi driver in Abuja as well, with the senator.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Too many cases,
thank you very much.
Like that. Even the Code of Conduct Tribunal chairman, I believe.
Chairman.
Yes, in
thank you very much.
Abuja. That's many, and it just want to get a glaring picture of how there's 2 justice systems that exist in Nigeria. Once you're rich, you have your own justice system, and then once you are, poor or broke or have no influence, then you have your own that immediately, grabs you like a lion and tears you apart.
Absolutely, absolutely. And interestingly, this is not something. It is something that most of us would sit down, pontificate, and condemn. But look, we're all waiting for our opportunity to be the oppressors. That is what I have actually observed. So really, why we should sit and condemn this, we must also try to start thinking to ourselves, why is this continuing? Because eventually, those who are less privileged, the moment the same thing to call someone an uncle, an auntie, a friend that they have in the system to help them compromise the system. And the truth of the matter is, as long as we continue to have this, law enforcement will continue to be ineffective.
Okay, I think our final question will be your expectations for what the EFCC should achieve, or maybe cases you think you'd love to see a logical conclusion in 2025.
Yeah, in impunity cases that check impunity in all facets of our life, in terms of human rights violations, in terms of governance issues, in terms of corruption, what one would like to see, because impunity is what drives practices. Once with it, then we'll keep doing it. So I would like a situation where in 2025 our law instituting cases and prosecuting people in order to curb impunity.
Yeah. All right. Deji Ajari, thank you very much for joining us this morning and for sharing your thoughts with us. Very interesting story, and we will see, if things turn out the way that you have predicted with this particular, with the Okoya case and with the EFCC as well. Thanks for your time.